All right, welcome to the Town Council meeting for March 19th, 2018. This is the meeting that was postponed from March 13th. We'll open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we can just take a moment of silence to reflect on our duties here and to remember all our first responders and veterans home and away. Thank you. And we're taping the meeting in accordance with Mass General laws. We announce that we're taping the meeting. Is anyone else taping? Nope, I don't think so. Public comments? None? Council comments? None. Town manager report. You didn't expect to go so fast, did you? We're whipping right through
It
this
always
thing.
surprises me how quickly it gets to, what is it, 2 minutes?
Showtime.
Thank you, yeah.
Let me first apologize. I have a tickle that will not go away, so I've got cough drops every place, but I might step out if I really get to coughing. I'm happy to announce that Constance, who likes to be called Connie Browders, has accepted the position of Director of Planning and Community Development. Her start date is April 9th, and I'm going to give her a big hug when she gets here because it'll be great to finally have a planner on board. She has a degree in design and community development. She's worked with CDGB grants, so she's got a broad spectrum of qualifications that I think y'all will find awesome. Donna Prather's been putting together policies and procedures. She's kind of gotten hit hard with things that are a little out of control. We all know the passion of parents and coaches and all of that stuff, and sometimes it kind of gets a little over the top. So I've attached a copy of a code of ethics that she has put together. She came from Indianapolis, and she found that, so she brought a lot of that forms and stuff with her, and was able to convert something that she'd used in the past that just kind of helped. She was caught short by not having any policy on, for instance, a coach that was inappropriate, and what do you do? What's the process? So this is one step, but there are a lot of those that are going to be put in place. The Lions Club is celebrating the 75th anniversary of their service to the community on April 11th at Mario's Cafe. They said to register early if you are interested in going. I've got a proclamation all set. Marge did some research on Lions, so that's all set, and I think it's for the council's signature, so I'll have it at the next meeting for you. Bruce Finney's been working with the Mass DEP on new stormwater requirements. You'll hear MS4 regulations a lot. It's costly to all the communities. Bruce and a representative. And unfunded, yes, right. Unfunded mandate. He's going to be bringing a DEP person in so that the DEP can be the bad guys instead of Bruce in the near future. This year, it will impact us not hugely, and I think he's figured out, we haven't sat and talked about his budget, but he's figured out a way to sort of absorb it in what he's got budgeting-wise. Last week, I attended a one-to-one presentation presented by the school principals and the IT director explaining the advantages of reaching the goal of one computer for every student in grades 3 through 12. It was very impressive and something that I think we will absolutely need to consider at some point. The school board needs to move on it. It would not be in this budget. It has a big impact to the budget. It's a huge number. So one of the things that I had suggested, I think you know my take on things, is maybe we do this in smaller steps than one big giant lump. So I think they're thinking about how to do that a little differently than they had originally proposed to me. The organizers of the 4th of July have already met, and I think we have most of the pieces worked out. I'd like your suggestions on what to do with the beer tent The police chief's vote is don't have it. So there's that option, and anything in between. So if you have any suggestions on that, please let us know. Last year, as you all are aware, I had no idea what the 4th of July celebration was all about. I certainly learned pretty fast and pretty directly exactly what it was about. So certainly we're very prepared this year already. Most of it is done. But if you have any suggestions on that piece, that would be something that we're looking for suggestions. Also, the fact came up that next year is the 125th celebration of East Long Meadow, and we did a little bit of talking about, should we wrap that into the 4th of July? Should it be a separate, like a Heritage Day or historical something day? I don't know what day exactly, we were officially established, but we can find that out and celebrate around that time. So start doing some thinking about that as well. East Long Meadow's been very fortunate with the bad weather that we've had. The snow, the rain, the flooding, all of that, loss of electricity. We have not really been seriously impacted, and we've gotten great compliments about the roads. This year is much better as far as the clearing of the roads. The fire chief, I'm sure I've told you in the past, but just to update you, the fire chief was made the emergency management director and has rehabbed the whole organization. And I am very, very confident. We've gotten calls for things like, are we going to open a shelter if there's, really bad weather? One of the storms was predicted to be terrible. And he immediately knows the response that's supposed to be had for that. And he's revamping and continues to revitalize that whole organization. So we're in good shape. Good news, the Harry Grodsky and Company is looking to move their headquarters to East Long Meadow. Don brought that to my attention today. The letter that I received from them said that it was a letter of intent for tax incentive, a Massachusetts tax incentive program. I didn't understand that to be that we needed to do something with that, but we do. So I will be talking to the assessor, all the folks internally, and then it will have to be something that you all will think about whether we want to provide tax incentive. I think it's a TIF, and if you recall last year, Deborah Bronsky had come and talked to us all about that. This would be something under her umbrella. The town's in the process of requesting proposals for backup and overnight ambulance service and for billing services as the town transitions to our own ambulance service, which is extremely exciting. 2 key events recently completed were approval of our Bay State Health BLS affiliation agreement, which is quite a long process, and 4 new firefighter paramedics. The fire chief, along with the EMS staff, are in the process of obtaining our Massachusetts OEMS ambulance service license and plan on beginning operating BLS, basic life support ambulance, on July 1st. The ambulance should be here in April, along with, I think, on the top of the next page, our new fire truck. So the chief is going to be so excited. Coming shortly. East Long Meadow's been, now this was from an organization that actually lends to businesses, but we have been named one of the best 150 towns in Massachusetts for starting a small business. And just for your information, I put the other communities in Hampden County and the requirements, the different criteria that they judged. It seemed like good, solid information that I thought I would pass on to you. So that's the end of my report, and hopefully we have nice spring weather soon. Thank you.
It's supposed to snow tomorrow, isn't it? Wednesday?
Maybe not.
I hope not. So we're going on to approval of minutes. I'll accept approval, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 27th.
I'll make a motion, however, I did have some edits in some of my comments, which I gave to Jeannie earlier. Just a couple of clarifications here and there, that's about it. So with those amendments.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here that day. It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You and me can't do that. There we go. Communications, correspondence, and announcements. So first, Tom, that's you, right?
Yep.
Local election updates on your plate for today.
Yes, sir. We received, for our elected positions, there's council positions and the school committee. There are 2 elected seats. For our council, we have our 2 incumbents, Mr. O'Connor and Mr. Anderson. And those 2 are the only ones who did return their papers with enough certified signatures. So, no race for that seat. The other one is the school committee, and there's 1 seat. Every 3 years, there's 1 seat available, 2, 2, and 1, and this is that year where there's 1 seat. There's 3 candidates who returned their papers with 50 certified signatures. Jonathan Torsha, Susan Mantoni, who's here with us tonight, and Sarah Trulio. So, unless...
Preliminary in May, right?
Oh, John's here too.
John's here.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. In according to Mass election law, there's a 16-day period when papers are due to when you have a chance to withdraw. And that is 5 p.m. on Thursday, March 29th. And come that time, if nobody does withdraw papers, then we will go, full bore ahead to start a preliminary election on May 1st, which eliminates the 3 candidates down to 2 for our June 5th general town elections. So I just wanted to let everybody know that we do have that 1 race, and we are going to have a preliminary on May 1st.
Very good. You're up, Tom.
Okay.
Subcommittees, both of them belong to you, I believe.
Hey, thanks. I wasn't really planning on saying much on the social media communications committee, but some things made me change my mind. So basically on that one, we're going to be setting up a meeting soon enough, but since that last meeting, we did pick up a new member, and I'm delighted to say Bill Cole, who has a business in town, and Tiger Web Designs. I think that was a component that as strong as our committee was, having an actual web designer to offer critique and so forth and observation is amazing. One of the things I'm going to challenge even ourselves and the public, including our viewing public, is I'm trying to put together, and I already sent a message out to the subcommittee, of tasking us with coming up with a media communication questionnaire to find out, questions such as, how do you currently get information out to the public? What are your goals? Who's your target market? And coming up with some questions, and I want every department head to have that questionnaire. Because there's some things, and a case in point came up, and I'm not picking on my old planning board, but just they have a meeting tomorrow. And in the meeting, the description, when I went on the agenda, was very technical. And it said basically, I'm going to try to pull it up if you don't mind. Description is at 6 o'clock, there's a public hearing, zoning bylaw amendment, section 3.092, John Grimaldi. Now, I think one of the challenges, and it'll probably work its way out with, over time, is maybe all of us ask ourselves the question is, maybe we may know what this means, but does our public know what it means? So in terms of effective communication, that if I wanted to see what was happening in the planning board or our board or whatever, and there's a technical explanation of what the public hearing is without a subtopic saying, allowing commercial vehicles to park in residential driveways, that might trigger me to go and listen or offer input. But when it's merely a technical statement, it doesn't. So I think that's just one small example, as just, of recency, that we need as, that we work with the public to let the public know that we all not only understand our job, but we also know how to convey to you in understandable terms what we're trying to do, so you can come in. So anyway, that's about it on that one. And can I segue to the next subcommittee? All right, we had a meeting of the planning subcommittee, and in your paperwork there was an attempt to summarize the votes. And in that, it said the first vote from the subcommittee was a unanimous vote that we wanted to be under special, recommend to the council that the final bylaw be under special permit versus site plan review. The other vote says that the minimum lot size be 40 acres, and further, that the minimum project be 40 acres as well. So you can't have a rezone and then have 4 or 5 different independent projects within that rezone. The third one I think was not quite correct. It said here that it was an unanimous vote that all of us were in favor of 60-foot height. Not quite. What we were talking about at that meeting was the pitch of the roof and the angle, and it could go up there. And we were talking about that it would apply, perhaps 60 might work depending on the area. You put one in an industrial park, it might be appropriate based on the surrounding. But if you put one of these things in Fenway Golf, that 60 feet would stick out, it wouldn't work. So what we were talking about is the height requirement is a function of looking at the entire region of where this is coming in. Now, some of the other comments on the subcommittee is we also support the parking being 1 parking spot per bedroom, not 1.5 per unit. However, we did discuss with the developer the idea of a flexible parking scheme. In other words, without using the 40% open space, put additional open space so that it meets the parking requirements in the bylaw as we suggest. And then if it turns out that your 1.5 isn't working, we get complaints of people parking on the street or whatever, we now have area that, again, that doesn't tap into the 40% open space that's proposed in this bylaw, and that then they can add additional parking to it. So that was sort of the flexibility. However, there are one of the things we have to look at is the impact that this is going to have. And I think this is one thing and I talked to the town planner, Larry, a couple days after the meeting, and one of the suggestions the subcommittee may have is to perhaps bring this matter, and we'll find the legal methodology to bring this matter back to the planning board. Because one of the areas that I think innocently we missed from the old government to this current government is that in the past we had the town meeting, and in the present we are the town meeting. And when a commercial developer came up with a proposal, the person, it would have public hearings from the planning board, and the planning board would make sure at least it's, that it's sufficient enough to bring to the town meeting. But in addition, the planning board, the town moderator would ask the chair of the planning board to come up and speak and see what your opinion is. And some of the thoughts that we had were, is this project consistent with our master plan? Albeit our master plan has not been updated, but that's for another day. But we do have a master plan. Is it consistent? And is it smart planning to give up industrial land for residential? So the question to the planning board, and I think I understand, was, is this sufficient enough to bring to the town council for a vote? But I think there's a further question, is this smart, what does the planning board think? Is this smart planning? And is this efficient use of our industrial space? We just talked earlier about this industry that wants to come into East Long Meadow. We do have that as an asset. And is that something to consider? And then last but not least is what this is going to do to the town as far as affordable housing. As we all know, we remember Benton Estates. Benton Estates was not a project by the town of East Long Meadow. It was a project that went to the state of Massachusetts, who then basically we served no purpose except for as a consultant, and they were able to put it in and get waivers on dimension, size, etc., because we didn't have the requisite number of affordable housing. Well, the affordable housing by its own admission is zero with this new project. This is going to be concierge, high-end, high-price, and we are going to be really, really impact on our affordable housing. Where other projects, somebody can come in and say, well, the town is already happy with high-density, multi-use facilities. I'm going to ask for a 40-acre waiver, and I want to put one in a main street, do a chapter 40B or 40R, which is a higher density type. So we have to be really, really cognitive of that effect, because this may be a money maker, but by putting us at, I'm making up this number, 1% affordable housing, we are on the radar of potential developers to be able to get another one of these and very similar and get waivers in other areas. And we could have a very, very strong impact detrimentally to our services and to our schools if another project comes in where this makes money for the town, another one. So the committee is going to be meeting again on Wednesday, weather permitting and so forth, but we're going to be meeting again on Wednesday at the library. Obviously, people are welcome to attend. And we're probably going to continue further along in deference to the fact that we now have a town planner, and we would certainly love to have her input on this project, because this and the petitioner even admitted that they don't have a problem with us extending time. So anyhow, I just thought that's about it.
I'd just like to add one other piece to that. The other topic that was discussed at the subcommittee meeting was site plan review versus special permit, and it was unanimous that regardless of what happens over that property, the opinion of the subcommittee was the project would be done under special permit.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I may too, we're really addressing a bylaw change or a new bylaw for the town, creating a new district called multi-use district. And it's not about a specific project, it's about what it does to the whole town and the potential for this project within this bylaw being placed elsewhere in town.
Thanks. Anything else? No? All good. All right. Thanks, Don.
My pleasure.
Orders of the day. So we have licensing matters. Old business.
Licensing.
Licensing, there's nothing. There's a public hearing. It goes to the public hearing section. Old business is the proposed charter amendments. So we had a few that were suggested, if you want to talk about those.
I could update the council very quickly. The council had talked about maybe, charter proposed enhancements. We've been, into this government now maybe 18 months or closer, 20 months. And is there any small tweaks or enhancements the council wants to make the charter more efficient? And I know one of the things that was brought up, for example, was, this is in your supporting documents, under Article 2, Town Council's Section 2, the eligibility. It's on page 5 of the charter. It currently reads that the first council meeting on or after July 1st, the council shall choose from its membership a president, a vice president, each to serve for a one-year term of office. And the proposed, again, slightly as it may, a proposed enhancement would be at the first council meeting on or after July 1st, the council shall choose from a full council, a president, vice president, each to serve for a one-year term of office. But it's just an example, to have the full council there to vote on the reorganization. And the other example that was brought up and was just recently talked about was publishing bylaws into a local newspaper, which is very important for people to see. And it currently reads, the proposed bylaw shall address one subject only and shall be introduced in writing and in the form necessary for final adoption. Any proposed bylaw shall be published in a local newspaper, town bulletin board, and on the town's website or other official repository of municipal information, whether on the internet or accessed through the other comparable technology, not less than 7 days prior to its second reading, except for emergency bylaws. That's the way it currently reads. And with the proposed enhancement or amendment to this bylaw, the proposed bylaw shall address one subject only and shall be introduced in writing and in the form necessary for final adoption. Any proposed bylaw shall be published in a local newspaper, provided, however, that whenever a proposed bylaw or other measure would exceed in length more than 10 column inches of ordinary newspaper print, notice print, then in lieu of the publication in a local newspaper of the entire length of the proposed bylaw, a reasonable synopsis may be published. The proposed bylaw shall also be available in the office of the town clerk, on the town bulletin board, and on the town's website or other official online repository of municipal information, whether on the internet or accessed through comparable technology, not less than 7 days prior to its second reading, except for emergency bylaws. And again, that's, again, being, with the new charter form of government, we have a lot of proposed brand-new bylaws, and they do get very expensive from start to finish if we do publish, the entire bylaw. And again, conversations with your Attorney General's office, and in speaking with town council, it is, they had said that the synopsis or the general summary is accepted. It's an accepted way to summarize the main points, as well as long as you have it on record in the clerk's office for anyone in the public to see in its entirety. But again, it'll go a long way in shortening what we do have to publish, and just make things, I think, a lot easier and simpler in that way.
Well, two things on that just quickly is budget-wise, we can't, we can't line item budget for it because we don't know how many we're gonna change, and we don't know how much it costs, right? And so we've experienced a few just recently that were
Upwards of $2,000.
extensively written and very expensive to
Yeah.
post. So that's part of that, just for everybody's sort of edification, I guess. But that's part of the reason why the summary piece was, that's why we checked with the Attorney General to see if a summary piece would be appropriate or not appropriate. But
Yeah, exactly, so that's important. And, we want to try to get that onto, if we can, the ballot for the June 5th election, if we are going to make any enhancements. So with the council's approval, language needs to get to the AG's office 60 days prior to the election, or targeting April 5th. And, I recently sent a message to you, if you guys have any other, ideas or enhancements that you like to propose, I'll work with the town council, and we can put the right language together, so the council can approve it, we can get it to the AG's office, and adhere to the timeline necessary to get it on the ballot for June 5th.
thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
Kevin, I just wanted to add one other
Yeah.
piece. Where the publication is advertised as well, I think the language is pretty specific right now, stating that it needs to be in a local newspaper.
Right.
And the reminder is not a local newspaper, so we should review the language and be able to print this where we feel it'll best serve the residents.
Right.
Why is the,
Is
to
not
the,
or is?
to the chair, why is the reminder not regarded as a local
It's a
newspaper?
local publication, which is, there's some slight
Semantics, so, yeah.
semantically different
Yeah.
view of, it's considered a local publication.
So if we're straightening out the language, that would be a good time to clarify.
That's a good time to
Right.
clarify that. To me, that goes hand in hand.
Yeah. That's one of those, like, just funny differences that they make for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
All right, so, on to new business. We'll get this one in quick, because I know the superintendent's here waiting before we do our public hearings. So we have to authorize the superintendent to submit a statement of interest form to the Massachusetts School Building Authority for the core program at East Summer High School. So Gordon, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity to be with you for a few moments this evening. Similar to last year, in order to submit a statement of interest to the Mass School Building Authority, in this case the core program, which is the comprehensive project at the high school, we need both the school committee and the town council to approve the submission of that statement of interest. And really all that's saying is that I'm able to go forward and put in a statement of interest. Doesn't commit to either the town, nor does it certainly, if you've taken a look at their language, commit to the Mass School Building Authority to any future agreement. It just puts us in the discussion, so to speak.
All right, so this is one of those conversations that dialogues that we've had back and forth, obviously,
have.
so it's not anything new. So I'll entertain a motion to, having convened in an open meeting on Monday, March 19, 2018, prior to the closing date, the East Long Meadow Town Council of the Town of East Long Meadow, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, is voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority a statement of interest form dated on or before April 6, 2018 for East Long Meadow High School located at 180 Maple Street, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Priority 3 is loss of accreditation. Priority 5, replacement, renovation, or modernization of school facility systems such as roof, windows, boilers, heating, and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in a school facility. And priority 7, replacement of or addition to obsolete buildings in order to provide for a full range of programs consistent with state and approved local requirements. Hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the town of East Long Meadow to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Well done.
That's it, right?
That's it.
Second.
So it's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you very much. I'll get to writing.
Have fun, because if it's half as hard to write it as it is to read it.
Very similar.
All right, so we got to go entertain a motion to go out of order from financials to our 9A public hearing for the liquor license transfer.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we have a public hearing for a liquor license transfer from Pasquale Associates to Redstone Pasta Company.
I'm going to recuse myself, not because I have any conflict of interest. In fact, I don't. It's just that the attorney for Pasquale shares office space in my office. I don't even think I have to leave. I'll just be quiet.
Come on up, guys.
Did I miss my name being called?
I don't know if I called a name, I don't
All
think.
right. I'm just gonna move the chair. I don't think it's good form to break a chair.
And I would have butchered your last name, so I'm not even going to try that.
Occurs.
Occurs, that's easy. Doesn't look that easy.
It's a nice quick name. Good evening, Council. Joel Castleman here for,
Kevin, do you want?
Oh, we got to do the whole, hold on one second. You got the sheet? Oh, here we go. Sorry, let me start this all over again. I got to follow the script.
quite all right.
All right, the reason for the public hearing is to discuss a transfer of liquor license from Pasquale Associates to Redstone Pasta. The council members are O'Connor, Ford, Manley, Anderson, Hill, and Kane. Now, at this time, I'm going to have the clerk read the notice into the record.
Notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the general laws that Redstone Pasta Company, Inc. has applied for a liquor license transfer from Pasquale's Associates LLC, 642-644 North Main Street, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts, to Redstone Pasta Company, Inc. The town council will hold a public hearing on the application on Monday, March 19th, 2018 at 6:30 PM in the Council on Aging Media Room, 328 North Main Street, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts. For the council, Thomas Florence, clerk of the council.
Thank you, Tom. This meeting is being recorded, and I'll need anybody who's addressing the council to identify themselves clearly, state their home address for the record. After you guys have finished your presentation, we'll actually open the floor for public input. So go ahead.
Attorney Joel Castleman, 1145 Main Street in Springfield for Redstone Pasta Company, Inc.
Georgia Chris,
Address?
981 Overhill Drive, Suffield, Connecticut.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
So you guys are just looking to, George, what are you're just trying to move in there?
So what my idea is, just open up a restaurant, concept that's not in East Long Meadow, actually a concept that's not really pretty much anywhere in the Western Mass or Northern Connecticut area. I have a restaurant now. We do everything from scratch. And about a year and a half ago, I started making all our pasta from scratch daily. And what I want to do is a concept that incorporates that to the next level. At my facilities, I'm kind of cornered into a little box of what I can do just because the restaurant was named and it's a Mediterranean restaurant, and there's not so many pasta dishes we could do with that Mediterranean theme. What I'm looking to do is diverse that and expand it to the area and bring people to that restaurant because of it.
All right.
All right, and then I'll make a little pitch here and a little introduction to Mr. Korish. He's been in the restaurant business for 20 years, and he's owned Golden Irene's in East Windsor for 15 years. It's a small place, as he says. He's somewhat limited in size in terms of the concept of what he wants to run, but he's done an excellent job. The food is outstanding there. In 15 years of owning the restaurant, he worked there 5 years prior to that. They've never had any, we're here for a liquor license, obviously transfer. He's never had any liquor license. He's got a full bar there, never had a liquor license violation, never underage, over-serving, nothing of that nature. It's a restaurant with a bar, which is much what we're trying to do here at Pasquale's at that location. And Pasquale's has been here for a long, long time. Obviously, it's been quiet for a while now. And when George came to me and said, I'm interested in the location, I told him it's a great location. It needs some work. The building needs a little bit of work, obviously. Immediately, just to show you how hands-on George is, he went right to the building department before we even, I've had to kind of rein him back a little bit just so that I can earn my keep here, because I feel like he went right to the fire chief. He went right to the building department. Will you guys meet me over there? He's been through the building with the building inspector, with the fire chief, health department. He's been on top of all those things without me having to kick him in the butt. Which generally speaking, when I handle these types of situations, you do have to lead someone by the hand through the process. George has been on top of it, which I think is a great sign for the town, and certainly as far as my confidence in what he's done and what he's going to do. Because you've seen the sample menu, I believe he passed that out. Another thing where I said, well, George, it's always good when I go before a board, I'd like to have a sample menu, they'd like to see. Geez, this is a pretty good, usually it's something that's handwritten, or maybe it's typed on his, he's got it done on his Word or his computer. This isn't impressive. Now, this isn't necessarily the exact menu, but just to come up with these ideas, the types of things he wants to do, I think this is the kind of gentleman that obviously you want to have in your town operating a restaurant. As far as staffing the restaurant, George, as he does now, intends to have monthly management staff meetings to review policies, got written policies in place. All of his servers are tip certified, and they will be here as well. He runs a very, very strict operation. He's hands-on. Of course, having to move here, he's going to be moving his efforts to East Long Meadow. His wife, who is in the audience today, has volunteered to, and she's been involved in the East Windsor business as well. But she's going to be taking over some of the day-to-day operations of the East Windsor business, so that George can concentrate on, putting probably 45 to 60 hours a week into this process, at least until it gets up and running. But neither of them are shy about hard work. Although they do have how old's your son?
1 year.
Yeah, they got a 1-year-old at home.
He's going to be in college next week, too.
Yeah, so we've all been there, and so they've got their hands full. Estimated employees, he hopes to have about 14 servers, 5 bartenders, 8 cooks, including sous chefs and that type of thing, and an additional 2 or 3 managers to run the operation while he's either in the back of the restaurant or not on the restaurant itself. He's got an interior designer who's already been through the restaurant, coming up with some ideas. He's not going to do anything monumental in there, just financially, money-wise, but it needs a lot of work on the interior, and he's already has people in there He's already got contractors looking at the outside. He's already got a loan in place with Suffield National Bank. They're ready to close as soon as we get approval locally, and then from, because the contract is contingent on the license transfer, but as soon as we get local approval and then state approval, Doherty Wallace is sitting on the loan and they're ready to go. So the fact that the bank stepped up, and this is a bank that George done business with for 15 years, but stepped up with a substantial loan on this building and an operation that, let's be honest, hasn't been running in a while, and it needs some work, and it's always a risk. Restaurants and bars are two things that I happen to represent a lot of them, and it's it's a tough job. And the fact that this bank has stepped forward, it took them about 30 days to come forward with a loan, tells me a lot about George. Also, just as far as the building goes, there'll be some lighting improvements. The parking lot needs a little bit of work in terms of, but that will come down the road somewhere. There was an issue, and I'll talk about hours. There was an issue that was raised last week, actually. I received Fred Jeffrion, who represents the sellers, and I received a letter that I believe Mr. Florence had promulgated that basically said that as of March 1st, applications such as these, you need a DOR waiver. ABCC is going to require it anyway in order to transfer a license. I had been aware of this in terms of my own legal practice, in that I had sent Attorney Jeffrion an agenda 2 weeks ago saying that we needed these certain documents: certificate of standing, legal existence, and a waiver, a state DOR tax waiver, because the ABCC is not going to approve a license without it. So everyone's aware of that. And then I talked to Jeannie this morning. She said, "Well, geez, can you get it by today?" Now, again, I know Attorney Jeffrion's been working on it. I know Mr. Torsh's here, and they've been working on it. I did have a chance to speak to Attorney Jeffrion at about 3 o'clock today, who says that he spoke to someone at DOR and his clients, and that there are no monies or taxes owed, and that he had hoped to have it to me today. But I've checked my email, and I've not seen it, so that we don't have it in our possession. And I know that that's certainly going to hold the ABCC approval back. And I suggest that tonight, if after we've answered some questions and the public's had a chance to chime in, and if you feel so inclined to allow for this transfer, and considering we don't have this document, I just suggest that perhaps the council would approve the transfer contingent on producing this document that the sellers assure me is going to happen. It would have to happen before we closed anyway. I would require it, the bank would require it, the ABCC would require it, but certainly before you sent papers to Boston, it would behoove everybody. It'd be great for me if I had it in my hand. And so certainly I think that keeps everyone's feet to the fire. So if you are inclined to approve this transfer, pending that or contingent on that, that would be obviously fine by us, because we need that document anyway, and sooner better than later. I want to know if there's any, we want to know if there are any blemishes out there, any other liens or problems we may need to address. And that brings me to, also, I know the town had a concern that I was unaware of, that there had been a lien put on the license, the liquor license, by one of the providers for the current owners, and that lien was paid off today. Evidence was provided to me and to the town. I believe a letter and a copy of the check was provided to the town today, and in fact I just received an email at about 4 o'clock that was a discharge from Attorney Michaelman's office saying that he was satisfied in full. So that piece of the puzzle has been provided. I'm satisfied, and I would hope the town would be satisfied. The DOR piece of the puzzle, I've been assured that that's coming, and I have no doubt it is. And I wouldn't be ready to move forward without it, as I'm sure the town nor the ABCC would. But I would suggest again that if you're feel so inclined to approve this transfer, we do it, and if you'd do it contingent on receiving that document, I would appreciate it. I'm sure my client would. And just one other thing before you pepper myself and George with all sorts of great questions. The proposed hours right now, and we always, I always tell my client to get the out, be as broad as you can, because it's easier to back down, and to come back and say we want longer hours, and I can't tell him how long a day he wants to work, but his proposed hours right now, it's not a restaurant, his other restaurant doesn't close a day like a lot of restaurants do, so he's looking for 7 days a week, 11 to 1. He's gonna have his regular menu till 10 o'clock each night. He's gonna have a late night menu to midnight. So he's hoping that, and I told him, listen, Wednesday night, you may not have anybody in there at 10 o'clock at night. You may decide after a month or a week that, maybe I'm only be open till 10 on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, or whatever those hours may be, but those would be the proposed hours at this point. And simply, give him some flexibility to back off on those. He's very excited about this project, and I'm excited for him, and I think the town probably you've had some great restaurants, and you have some great restaurants, so, questions?
I have questions. Go ahead. So you're looking for a transfer, but that's contingent upon a real estate closing, correct?
It is. Well, the real estate closing is contingent on the transfer, in fact.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, you wouldn't want to transfer a license, so everyone knows. I mean, if the sale doesn't go through, obviously the current owner is not going to want to surrender that license to
Right. Well,
a potential buyer. So it's contingent. I mean, that's what we're talking about. A transfer that's contingent upon a closing.
Well, in fact, the closing is contingent on the transfer, because the closing's ready to go, the
Right.
title's all ready to go, the bank is ready to go. So
The
once
bank's not giving you money unless you have the license.
correct, exactly.
Well, that
So
makes
when we go
sense.
back to the subject of the certificate of good standing, because you don't have it tonight, that wouldn't bother me, because you're going to need that at that time. And when is your projected transfer request and closing?
Well,
Is it in April sometime?
Well, again, the ABCC works in mysterious ways. About 5 or 6 years ago, they went from 2 inspectors to 1 inspector for the entire western part of the state. So it becomes a problem where we used to have a 4 to 6 week window. There have been times, particularly in the spring, when everybody decides that they want to be a bar owner or a restaurant owner, and we're going to have license transfers or new license applications. The spring can sometimes, there can be a delay, but I'm hoping that pending this approval, if the board approves, the council approves us tonight, and we get this submitted in the next, few days, knock on wood, 3 to 4 weeks would be great. But again, we're kind of at the ABCC's mercy. I've informed the lenders council, Attorney Jeffrion, and the sellers are ready at any time. But I've informed the lenders council that as soon as we receive approval, we'd be ready to go within 5 to 7 days.
Okay.
Because that's what the bank's going to take.
Today I went to the town hall, just so the other council members know. I reviewed the documents, and the fees that were owed to a vendor have been satisfied. You're looking for it based on a contingent, the transfer. And would that be the time? There's also real estate taxes and other fees due the community. That would be cleaned up at the same time.
Absolutely.
Mutually at
At closing, I mean,
At closing.
again, the town, would, certainly, if my client's buying a piece of real estate, he's not gonna buy a piece of real estate with outstanding taxes. And there are significant, I've received a municipal lien certificate from the town, obviously, and there are some significant taxes to be paid, which will be paid out of the proceeds before the sellers are entitled to any part of the proceeds. But the sellers have represented, I haven't confirmed any of this yet, because we don't have closing documents, but the sellers have confirmed with their attorney that there is in excess, the amount that they'll be collecting for closing is in excess of the outstanding due. There's a mortgage due, there's the taxes due, that they'll have far in excess of that, so there shouldn't be any problem. But if there is a problem, we won't have a closing. So that the taxes will all be paid up to date, penalties, interest, whatever's there, certainly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? All right, at this time, we're going to open it up to the public, if anybody has anything they want to talk about. George?
George Kingston, 664 Lane, Chair of the Planning Board. just want to point out that under the zoning bylaw, this falls under special permit, and the zoning bylaw requires that a full menu be available whenever the bar is open. So, just to clarify that.
Thanks, George. Anybody else?
You have a motion?
Yeah, I guess we can close it now. And at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing, and we'll entertain a motion to,
Yeah, I'd entertain a motion to approve the liquor license transfer from Pasquale's Association to Redstone Pasta Company contingent upon the ABC liquor license approval and a real estate closing.
Second.
moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm back. Where'd you go?
Oh, that's right, I forgot you.
I tried, I recused myself because Fred shares space in my office.
You meant to take a nap or something.
Yeah, it's just too exciting. How can I sleep through this?
You guys have a wonderful day, okay?
You too, George, thank you.
Look forward to it.
Okay, so that's crazy zip code.
Jeez, I guess so.
Where the heck is that place?
I like that one.
It's a jewel.
All right, we can do the public hearing for the liquor license to change a category from wines and malt beverages off premises to all alcoholic beverages off premises for the beer shop. So just quickly, the reason for this public hearing is to discuss a change in category from wines and malt beverages off premises to all alcoholic beverages off premises for the beer shop. Council members are O'Connor, Ford, Manley, Anderson, Hill, and Kane. At this time, I'm going to ask the clerk, I'll open the public meeting and have the clerk read the legal notice into the record.
Notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the General Laws that the Beer Shop, LTD, 33 Harkness Avenue, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts, has applied for a liquor license change of category from wines and malt beverages off premises to all alcoholic beverages off premises. The Town Council will hold a public hearing on the application on Monday, March 19th, 2018 at 6:40 p.m. in the Council on Aging Meeting Room 328 North Main Street, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts. For the Council, Thomas Florence, Clerk of the Council.
Thanks, Sam. At this point, we'll have the applicant present and discuss a change in the category from wines and malt beverages to all alcoholic beverages off premises. So introduce yourself.
Hello, Richard Cadill. Need my address as well?
Yes, please.
38 Colony Drive in East Long Meadow. Today we'd like to submit our application to go to from beer and wine to all alcohol. It was 5 years ago we applied for this beer and wine permit, and with hopes that there'd be a full liquor license. The town's grown to that size, and we just want to fulfill that niche.
So I'm going to open, you guys all done? You guys, anybody have questions? I know you're in the shop now.
Yes.
So you have basically your liquor license for wine
Correct.
and malt, right? You're
Yes.
doing specialty craft beers and
Yes.
whatever. So realistically, you're just looking to add all alcohol as opposed to.
Yes.
Easy enough. Doesn't seem like overly difficult. So now I'm going to open it for public input. Anybody?
Randy White, 49 Harkness, here with my wife Doreen. Thank you for the opportunity to state my concerns. Back in July 12, 2012, we had 4 concerns for Mr. Caudill and his new business. 3 of those concerns have never been a problem. I enjoy the beer shop. He's been a great neighbor. However, that 4th concern dealt with hard alcohol, and specifically the units of measure, nip bottles, half pints, pints, and what quantities of alcohol are going to be sold. The reason being is spring, summer, fall, we have an endless parade of people crossing our lawn, and as it stands now, there are plenty of that debris on my lawn. If there was a shop that was even, it's exactly 120 steps from my property to his front door, I figure that's enough time to put down a nip bottle, and that's going to end up on my lawn. That's my largest concern, and the other one is there counsel here? Legal question? So from time to time, the beer shop has tasting samples. I enjoy going there. Does Massachusetts allow sampling of hard alcohol? And we'll say anything 40 proof or more, for the sake of argument.
Go ahead, Jim. Because I don't know the answer.
Control Commission controls distribution of samples of alcohol and allows certain activities to occur, but you need to be licensed to have those activities to occur in the property.
With an off-premises license.
Separate and apart from the off-premises license. That license needs to have a separate approval from the ABCC to do that. And to the extent that they have that license and are permitted, to the extent that they don't receive that approval, then they can't.
Okay, so this is more a question for Mr. Caudill here. What types of hard alcohol, what are the sizes, what's the intention?
Our intention is just to serve the community. We like to stay with our niche of craft beer and craft spirits, but just like you had questions about hours and we adjusted.
Yes.
Basically, it's what the community wants, and I hear your concerns about nips and stuff being left over. Carl?
Right here.
We have a crew at the Harkness Avenue that
Carl,
Can
you come up to the table?
Yeah.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Right.
I'm Carl Perella. I'm the owner of the Heritage Village Shops. We operate as Country Development Corporation. Rich and Randy both have been great neighbors to us. Rich has done an outstanding job serving the community and doing a stand-up job putting together this niche. 5 years ago, we took a chance on Rich. It was a new business. He had a real good business model that I thought was going to be a winner. So we took a chance with him, and he's done a phenomenal job in serving the community and public service. And as far as keeping clean, what we do is we have a company that it's a handicap. I'm not even sure of the name, but there's a handicapped fella involved, and they bring an aide down, and we hire them to scour the premises once a week, every single week. And I'd be willing to extend that service to Randy if there's problems like that. Because we, in a parking lot, people dump their things out in the ground. The nips are coming from somewhere else. They're not coming from his store right now, unless there's beer bottles that are craft beer. I haven't seen that. So if there are nips, they're not coming from his store. People just dump stuff out in our parking lot. That's why we have this service that comes and they scour the parking lot once a week, and it's a great service for the community, and he does his job, and we pay him every single week. So.
And to answer your question, I remember when we first moved in our parking lot, we'd find like off-brand stuff we don't sell in our parking lot, and I think now since we've opened, periodically the police will swing through there, and that's kind of cleaned it up. I don't know if you notice it getting better or worse since we've been in, but I'd like to think it's got better.
I have to say that it stayed the same, but this is kind of a preemptive thing. So nips and pints and half pints are on the docket, so to speak, for your expansion.
Yes, but our goal is definitely, they're not for consumption until people get home.
Okay.
I don't want to see
And you're going to have everything from pop-off to the highest end bottle of I don't drink hard alcohol,
Right.
something malt scotch,
Happy
something,
Van Winkle,
or whatever.
old
So that
single barrel
the
malt.
intention is whatever sells, get it in there, and
Yeah, to serve the community. I mean, what I would like personally is high-end, high-niche stuff, but
okay.
The public would tell us.
Yeah, the
Customers would
public
tell
I
would
us.
say
understand.
it's what
And-
we had to do with beer. We had to make some adjustments with beer also.
Right, and keep in mind, this in no way is for, I want to see you succeed, you're a good neighbor, this is not a financial thing, but for the community,
Right.
back in 2012, we talked about that there are 3 package stores within 1 mile of that location. So as far as serving the community, there's 3 other places that are doing that right now.
Well, for us, it's a matter of,
Let me point here, your discussion is supposed to be through the chair.
I apologize.
Not to each other.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
So regarding the 3 licenses that are nearby, one of them's actually in a different city. So licenses are based on population of a city. So this license is available because the population dictates. And we think we'd best fulfill that niche.
That's not actually correct. The licenses are based in the town, based on population. That's the total number you're allowed to issue. But the concentration of licenses is the determination that the council makes independent of the licenses. So your determination is whether or not there's a need in the general area based on the existence of present licenses, whether another license is needed to serve the needs of the population. Just to clarify that.
But that's within the confines of our own town. We don't take into consideration something that might be
Correct.
right over the line in
You don't look at
Springfield.
Springfield, you don't look at Southfield, you don't look at any of those.
Geographically, we're not very big, and there's certain areas where a package store would not reside in a residential area anyhow. So there's gonna, generally speaking, there's gonna be a concentration of them within a mile or 2 of each other.
Well, you can, but you're not required to.
Right, understood. Okay.
Okay. And my final concern is Peppa's, their next door neighbor, advertises on television that they have a BYOB policy. I think it's a public safety concern that they have untrained wait staff that cannot monitor these people that are out on the deck drinking hard alcohol when they go right next door. And the beer shop is mentioned in those commercials and a shot of the front end. All of my other things are personal to me, my neighbors. I like to keep my yard nice. I don't like people invading my privacy. But this kind of goes more towards a public safety concern, to where a company that's advertising BYOB can buy a 5th of vodka right next door, down it with their pizza, and now they're hitting the road.
I don't think that BYOB includes.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Bring your own beer doesn't include alcohol, am I right? I'm not sure of Peppa's licensing, but that's outside of our control.
We cannot answer for Peppa's license that they have.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Tatiana Cadeo. Live in 38 Colony Drive in East Long Meadow, sorry. And I'm Richard's wife. And we build the shop together. Yeah, I'm the substitute manager as well. And we are tip certified. So we can, yes, there are people that come to Peppa's and they will go into our shop and they will have a beer with their pizza, but it's not a bar. And also we are tip certified. We can tell if anyone can have or not, unless Randy has like any incident that he can say that it happened. I don't believe anything ever happened. We've been there for 5 years. So, but again, we can answer for Peppa's, like whatever health license they have, they should bring up to, that's right.
So in closing, really, I do ask that if you do approve this application, that you, if possible, put a restriction on the volumes that could be sold, specifically 750 milliliter or larger. That way, I'm not dealing with the pints, I'm not dealing with the nips, they're not strewn all throughout my lawn, because quite frankly, I do expect an increase, not in foot traffic, but in the clientele that now passes across my lawn. This isn't the right forum to discuss that, but I'll just say that I've already invested about $2,200 in surveillance equipment to make a proactive approach to keep people from walking across my lawn, potentially damaging my property, invading my privacy because the part of the lawn that they will cross is feet away from our bedroom.
Well, Carl Perlow. I've lived on Anthony Drive, and I've been in town for 61 years. Now I've moved out, but I think when Rich came to me and asked me about this liquor idea, it's a matter of dollars and cents for his business as far as profitability, and to have a small good quality company move out of town and go to another section of Springfield or Long Meadow or Wilbraham would be a shame. In order to pay, for the expenses that we have, it's probably important to his business to have this type of a merchandise in order to profit and to pay taxes and to pay for expenses that we incur. So that's pretty much it. He's done a phenomenal job handling minors and public service and community service through our town, and I think he well deserve it. And I would be glad to make sure that the NIPS and things are. And I think one of Randy's concerns are sidewalks. I think that we don't have sidewalks, and sidewalks are a big concern. People don't know where to walk. You're walking down Harkness Avenue, they're coming from Springfield to go to Big Y to do their shopping, and there's no sidewalks. So, I mean, that's a whole nother issue that needs to be addressed, a whole nother situation. So, and I know Randy does a great job shoveling and trying to maintain it, but I think sidewalks are important.
I like throwing my 2 cents. I'm Randy's neighbor. How you guys?
How's it going?
I come into the store all the time.
Can you introduce yourself?
My name is James Burns. I live at 52 Harkness. Tom did my wedding. I live right across the street from Randy, and right on the back of my street. I mean, it's not you guys' fault. We never see like the higher class beers, but between the 3 liquor stores that are in walking distance from my house, and they sell everything, lottery cigarettes and blunt wraps and you name it. I am also concerned about the hard liquors being sold there. I mean, I kind of like brag about how you guys are like upper class and you don't sell like Budweiser and the cheaper beers. I was like, wow, I recommend going there a lot. And I fear if you guys start bringing some of the hard stuff, I mean, you get some traffic. I get most of the traffic that comes through Springfield. I mean, the line is right there. Not to demonize anybody, but you should see the NIPS behind my house. Seriously, if you guys put a tax on them, maybe 1 cent, let some of the guys who clean them up, maybe, you could do a good deal cleaning them up, because there's no cans back there, but there's a lot of NIPS. Take a drive back there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
I do see you guys like clean up a lot. Perella, I mean, the area does look nice over there, but I mean, it's pretty crazy. That's my only concern about that. So thanks for letting me say.
Go ahead, Joe.
So, I'm in that plaza a lot. Where are they cutting through into your yards? I'm trying to just visualize.
I'll tell you exactly. So here's Harkness.
Yeah.
And here's my house, 52 Harkness. And here's the ice cream shop. So I live on like an island of roads.
Right.
So, and here's a road right back here. And between that road and like they cut through like Springfield the back way. So right there mainly is a cut through. So instead of taking Harkness, because it gets so congested, and I don't know if you've driven down Harkness lately, but it'll blow your tire out. So people take the back through Cutway. So it's like 2 really busy roads. And it's a nice convenient road where people fling. There's like a area where like the trees grow that doesn't really get taken care of too much. So it's a perfect spot. I mean, people unload there. Take a drive by there. And, you can judge for yourself. But,
To answer your question, most of the traffic on my side of the road comes from the West Allen Ridge, East Allen Ridge neighborhood there, Colorado, etc. They'll come down West Allen Ridge, down Anthony, directly across my lawn.
But for you, it's foot traffic.
Yes, yes.
Just to answer everyone's question, from what we've seen by carting our customers, is they're predominantly East Longmeadow, Hamden, and Enfield. We do get some Springfield, but not as much as the people cutting across, going to other liquor stores. Our goal, if you walked into our store and any of the liquor stores around, we try to keep that high-end look, things nicer. But again, I want to sell the higher-end stuff. That's my niche. But
We basically don't want to say what we're not going to do, and then like the market just make us do it. That's not our intention. We want to stay the way we are, just high class. And there are 2 liquor stores, like you guys said, blocking us. So whoever would just come for a nip would feel like if they're coming from outside of East Longmeadow, they would stop there. They wouldn't go into like a little plaza to get that. And I understand your concerns, but it's happening already. It hasn't anything to do
Well, if I can
with
just
us.
interject for a second,
Sure.
and they clearly said that it's not coming from the
Right.
store.
Right.
But this is one of those times where businesses and residents have to compromise a little
Right.
Of
bit.
course, yeah.
And I think what they're simply asking, if your intention is to sell higher end, you could probably make this really easy for everyone and them if you just don't sell nips.
Well, here's the thing with the way the beer and wine and liquor industry works. To get the higher end stuff, it goes to the accounts with the most volume sales. So you can't just walk in and go, I want Pappy Van Winkle, which is something very sought after. I've talked to some of our sales reps who sell and represent that brand. They've never touched the bottle because the high-end stores are out towards Boston. So I would like to say I would never touch that. I want the higher-end stuff, but in order to get that, it's volume sales, and that's outside my control. That's a distribution issue, not a liquor store issue.
I mean, I would never want to hurt you make your money. I mean, like my neighbors and stuff, but when you start selling Smirnoff vodka bottles in
Right.
shots for $1, you go and get the crazy black guy that walks around and like stops people. Everybody knows who he is. He stops everybody. Oh, you got change, you got change? That guy, people like that, you're gonna drive a warrant to the neighborhood. I know it, because they're right in my backyard.
Right. Our intention
Because
is
the
not
walking distance
to.
from Eddie's to, I mean, I can walk to all 3 liquor stores
Right.
to get hard booze if I need it.
And I doubt I'll be able to compete with them in price, so, but my customers who want to make a mix and match 6-pack, but also have make a sangria with some vodka in it. I want to be able to service them where they don't have to buy a whole bottle. So, is there a way we could try it out
One more gentleman in the back.
and then
Hang on one
see
second, we got one more.
how it
Come on up
goes from
front.
there?
My name is Jim Garvey. I'm a resident of town, and I also am a competitor. I own Eddie's, which is on the Springfield East Long Meadow line or close to it. My concern is not the beer shop getting a license. Matter of fact, I'm for it. I hope they get it. My concern is what happens in a couple of years if all of a sudden business isn't good. What happens to that license? It's a very, very, very valuable possession. There was one sold, I believe it was a year and a half ago in West Springfield from the Lyons family to Costco for $750,000.
I'm with
Very
you on
valuable.
that. I know who you're talking
So-
about, and we're good
Right.
there.
But if there's some way that this could be guaranteed, that this license, if granted, stays at that location, I think it would be a good thing for, the other 3 stores in town, which are partially represented here.
Jim?
If I might, the Lions and the Costco package issue was a significantly different issue that probably is never going to exist in East Long Meadow.
But Jimmy, it
will,
could.
but
It could.
it was an aberration for a package store license to go for $750,000. Secondly, you cannot restrict the location of the license to the specific site that it's at. Once a license is granted, it's available to be transferred to any location within the community that you as a council determine to be appropriate for the sale of alcoholic beverages for the need of your patrons.
There's no restriction that can be put on it for that something? The the fear is, by myself and other liquor store owners, is it goes to Stop and Shop or Big Y, which could be similar to the Lions
I guess the answer
situation.
would be, how would you feel if the council decided to put a restriction, assuming you're an East Long Meadow license, on your license being sold to someone?
I would know that going in.
It
Right.
doesn't matter, but they
But I would
don't
know it
have-
going in, and I would
Point is
either
they
buy
don't
or
have the-
not buy.
They don't have the authority to do it.
Is there any other public comment? Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? So we can, what do you want to, Kathy? Mike?
I would continue it. I think we need to do a little more research on this.
And we're only meeting next Tuesday.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
We're only
We're
meeting
meeting
next
next
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I would like a little more time to think about this and drive around the area a little bit and maybe have it on our agenda for next Tuesday.
That's,
Continue the public hearing,
that's what I'm
yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about.
not close it, just
All right.
meet next Tuesday, find out what's, maybe stop and visit you. Stop in.
So at this point, I'm gonna entertain
Yeah.
a motion to continue the public hearing until next week.
Seconded.
At, what time is this one, 6:40?
What's our schedule for next week?
We have a 6:30 public hearing scheduled already, and potentially another public hearing that may be continued from tonight. So maybe 6:45?
Yeah, that's fine.
Just out of curiosity, what's the difference between me having a license and Pasquale's that was just transferred when there's a bar right across the street?
Yours is
I mean-
off premises.
Right.
They
So
can't
meant
take
to-
theirs off
license.
premises.
His,
It's the difference
his
in
license is for consumption on the property.
Right.
Yours is for sale and consumption,
Off the property.
ideally in a
Right.
house or
Yeah.
somewhere else, not on the road.
Okay. I was just curious.
So we have
6:45 next Tuesday?
6:45. Motion to
Okay, so I
continue until
second it.
6:45. You second, Mike. Moved and
Yep.
second. Any further discussion? Tom? Good. O'Connor? Joe Ford?
Aye.
Aye.
John Anderson?
Aye.
Kathy Hill?
I,
Mike King?
Aye.
All right. So we'll continue until next
See you then.
Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Do we have an
why
executive?
couldn't he just sell better stuff?
Because you can't get it.
He can't get a Grey Goose?
No, still do, so
No,
make it.
they make you buy them.
That was one of my
Right.
initial questions.
Learn something every day.
Mike, you have the bylaw. Mike, you reading it? The marijuana bylaw?
I did a tasting.
I don't have a copy of it, I don't, well, unless it's in the
I
packet.
think it might be.
Patty Van Winkle.
I'm gonna need to read that in, I guess.
I think so.
Denise gave me it.
The big wide parking.
Oh my God, this is long. Thanks, buddy.
13
This is the one you read, right?
State of
Yeah, I think I can do it again.
And they had others.
All right.
An executive tonight? It's over the top.
I don't think so.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to our next public hearing for a new general bylaw prohibiting the use, growth, cultivation, manufacture, and/or sale of recreational marijuana. This is our second reading. The reason for the continuance of this public hearing is to read for a second time a new proposed general bylaw prohibiting the use, growth, cultivation, manufacture, and/or sale of recreational marijuana. This mirrors the acceptance of a zoning bylaw. Council members are Tom O'Connor, Joe Ford, Kevin Manley, Don Anderson, Kathy Hill, and Mike King. I'm going to open the meeting now and have the clerk read the record into the notice.
The East Long Meadow Town Council will hold a public hearing on March 19th, 2018, at 6:50 PM in the media room of the Council on Aging located at 328 North Main Street to address a proposal for a new general bylaw which replicates the recently adopted zoning bylaw prohibiting the use, growth, cultivation, manufacture, and/or sale of marijuana for recreational use in the town. Information relating to this application is on file with the town clerk and the planning board and available for review by the public. For the council, Thomas Florence, clerk.
All right, Mike, you want to...
I will. Section 8, definitions. Manufacture, to compound, blend, extract, infuse, or otherwise make or prepare a marijuana product. Marijuana accessories, equipment, products, devices, or materials of any kind that are intended or designed for use in planting, propagating, cultivating, growing, harvesting, manufacturing, compounding, converting, producing, processing, preparing, testing, analyzing, packaging, repackaging, storing, containing, ingesting, inhaling, or otherwise introducing marijuana into the human body. Marijuana cultivator, an entity licensed to cultivate, process, and package marijuana, to deliver marijuana to marijuana establishments, and to transfer marijuana to other marijuana establishments, but not to consumers. Marijuana establishment, marijuana cultivator, marijuana testing facility, marijuana product manufacturer, marijuana retailer, or any other type of marijuana-related business. Marijuana product manufacturer, an entity licensed to obtain, manufacture, process, and package marijuana and marijuana products, to deliver marijuana and marijuana products to marijuana establishments, and to transfer marijuana and marijuana products to other marijuana establishments, but not to consumers. marijuana products, products that have been manufactured and contain marijuana or an extract from marijuana, including concentrated forms of marijuana and products composed of marijuana and other ingredients that are intended for the use of consumption, including edible products, beverages, tropical products, ointments, oils, and tinctures. Marijuana testing facility, an entity licensed to test marijuana and marijuana products, including certification for potency and the presence of contaminants. Marijuana retailer, an entity licensed to produce and deliver marijuana and marijuana products from marijuana establishments and to deliver, sell, or otherwise transfer marijuana and marijuana products to marijuana establishments and to consumers.
Done.
Thank you.
How many times do you think you said marijuana?
How much wood can a woodchuck chuck?
All right, so we'll open it up for public discussion. Anybody? Oh, that's good. All right, now I'm going to close the public hearing and we can discuss it. So at this point, we'll close the public hearing. And anybody have anything? No, heard enough. All right, so at this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve the new general bylaw prohibiting the use, growth, cultivation, manufacturing, or sale of recreational marijuana as read into the minutes at the February 27th and March 13th Town Council meeting.
Second.
March, that should be 19th. We canceled it. March 19th.
I still second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We got a roll call. Tom?
Aye.
Aye.
Joe? Aye. Don?
Aye.
Kathy?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Okay, good. Done. Next item is
Public hearing.
So now we can move to our the continuation of the public hearing for the creation of the mixed-use district from Industrial Garden Park District for parcel 18-38-0330 Chestnut Street. So the reason for the continuation of this public hearing is continue the discussion of a new proposed bylaw for the creation of a mixed-use district from Industrial Garden Park District for parcel 18-38-0330 Chestnut Street. Council members are O'Connor, Ford, Manley, Anderson, Hill, and Kane. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing and have the clerk read the notice into the record.
Continue the public hearing.
Yeah, continue.
Okay.
Yeah, continue it, sorry.
The East Long Meadow Town Council will hold a public hearing on March 19th, 2018, at 7 p.m. in the meeting room of the Council on Aging located at 328 North Main Street to address the creation of a mixed-use district from Industrial Garden Park District for parcel 18-38-0330 Chestnut Street. Information relating to this amendment is on file with the town clerk and available for review by the public. For the council, Thomas Florence, clerk of the council.
Thank you, Tom. So you guys are ready. We're going to have you, but you already gave your proposal, I suppose, right? And so you've been meeting with the subcommittee a little bit?
Correct. We've been, I'm sorry, John Tykina for,
Sorry, yeah.
for the property owner, M&A and M&M at East Longmeadow, the 330 Chestnut Street. Yeah, we've had 2 meetings with the subcommittee. It's been very productive. We look forward to continuing. I apologize, I didn't realize that this subcommittee report was much earlier in the evening and we weren't here for it, unfortunately. But we would look to hopefully continue working with the subcommittee and come up with something that, that we can bring back to the council.
I think what we're going to do is, I mean, we're having a subcommittee meeting Wednesday, obviously weather permitting. I don't think the latest fourth nor'easter is going to shut us down at 9 o'clock, but then again, I'll leave that for our town manager and people to make that decision, so stay tuned. We do have some, I think, very good news for all concerned is that the town just hired a new town planner with extensive experience, and she starts April 9th, and we love to have her involved. I mean, she was invited to Wednesday's meeting and not likely she'll be able to make it because other commitments, I'm sure, but the invite was always there. So just to show you we're interested in getting things going. And but suffice to say, we'd be ill-advised to have a brand new town planner and have perhaps the biggest project, residential project in the history of the town, be like, wait, I have no comment on this, you know? So, so we, you know, so maybe perhaps we should continue this hearing even further, as opposed to our Tuesday meeting, maybe sometime in our second meeting in April, and then we have but still continue with our subcommittee meetings. Just a thought.
Sounds okay with me. I know there's some work to be done on it. I know you guys are working together, so it seems legitimate.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is the subcommittee, it's procedural, I apologize. Can the subcommittee schedule meetings one to the next without having
Absolutely.
to come back? Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you can see, they can schedule their own meetings as many as they want.
So we think that's a great idea.
Okay, good. So I'm going to entertain them all. Any other public comment? George?
From the planning board's point of view, I heard a comment earlier that it might be sent back to planning board for additional work. If that's the case, we
would have to start the whole process all over,
I think
right?
the process would be for you to not accept our recommendation and send it back to us with suggestions for changes. At which point we would then have to hold a new public hearing, which would require advertising and so on.
Right.
So just build that into your schedule. If you do decide at some point that you do want to send it back, and I'm not saying that's the decision you're going to make, the sooner you decide that, the sooner we can get the process going for planning board to do something. So that's a decision I would suspect the council would want to make possibly by their next meeting so that we don't put things, into the summer.
Yeah. I talked to, George, I talked to Larry Smith, who's the acting planner right now. I met with him at Town Hall, and he's also a member of our subcommittee, and or at least participates. He's not an advisor. He's not a voting member. I apologize. And he seemed to believe, and you can talk to him independently, I encourage you, that the way the subcommittee's going, that the changes are so substantive that that's probably what's going to end up happening, is going back to the planning board.
Okay, well, again, you do have the right yourselves to amend the bylaw, proposed bylaw, but if you choose to send it back to planning board, the sooner you make that decision, the better off we all are. So
Okay.
just to,
I can assure you we'll bring that up on Wednesday's subcommittee meeting. So we'll have comment for next Tuesday under the subcommittee comments.
All right. Any other public comment? All right. So we'll get a motion to continue this till, what is it, second meeting in April?
But yeah, when's our second meeting in April?
April 10th.
That's the
Oh,
first.
second, April 20, I'm sorry.
What is it? April
24th.
By one day, I thought she's starting on the
April
9th. 1 day's not
24th.
enough.
Yeah, sure.
Second meeting in April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can always make a decision if we feel that it should be going to the planning board. We can always, make a decision to.
You guys all work that out.
Yeah, we'll work it out. I just think it'd be silly to have you guys come back next Tuesday for no reason.
Agreed. I'll be Disneyland.
That's
All
half
right.
your place.
So I'll
let you know.
To
Wait for that report.
continue this hearing until the second meeting in April.
At what time?
What
Let's
time?
say 7 PM.
Sure.
I'll second that.
Want to say the earlier in case
No.
we can get it moving quicker? 6:30?
Do we have anything scheduled for that time, Tom? Is there any other hearing scheduled for that day?
Not at this point.
Let's just do it the
We
first
have-
one.
So let's make it to 6:30.
Yeah, because we can always, just like this, if we got everything, and we'd have to be waiting till 7:10 to get this here.
Okay, so let's just do 6:30?
6:30.
You heard my second.
I didn't, but thank you.
6:30?
6:30.
Yeah, second.
So it's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. O'Connor?
Aye.
Ford? Manley, aye.
Aye, aye.
Anderson? Hill?
Aye.
Kane?
Aye.
Thank you. Which then puts this one easy.
See you in April.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Now we got the next one on your,
Yeah, you're on the next one too, so,
Would it take the same action?
yeah,
Yeah.
unless there's any public comment on the next one.
which I doubt, but,
Yeah. Open and continue the next one.
You have to open it up, right?
yeah. So we're gonna do the public hearing for the continuation of the zoning map amendment to read rezone parcel 18380 330 Chestnut Street for an industrial garden park district to mixed-use district. The reason for the continuation of the public hearing from January 23rd is to continue the discussion of a zone map amendment to rezone parcel 1838-0 330 Chestnut Street from industrial garden park district to mixed-use district. Council members are O'Connor, Ford, Manley, Anderson, Hill, and Kane. I'm going to open the public meeting, or continue the public meeting, and then the clerk will read the notice.
The East Long Meadow Town Council will hold a public hearing on March 19th, 2018 at 7:10 PM in the media room of the Council on Aging located at 328 North Main Street to address a zoning map amendment to rezone parcel 1838-0 330 Chestnut Street from Industrial Garden Park District to Mixed Use District. Information relating to this amendment is on file with the town clerk and available for review by the public. For the council, Thomas Florence, clerk of the council.
Thanks, Tom. So I'm assuming we don't have any public comment? No, good. So I'm going to entertain a motion to continue this to, what did we say what the date was?
April 24th.
April 24th.
6:35.
Well, we got to do the other one, or we might not have any.
Yeah.
6:45?
6:45.
Sure.
I like piggyback them, right on top of each other.
You want a second?
Sure.
Second?
It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. O'Connor?
Aye.
Ford? Aye.
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 Hill?
Aye.
Kane? All right. So we'll see you the second meeting in April. Thank you. Now I'll entertain a motion to go back into order.
So moved.
One thing.
Yeah.
So it's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we can go to financial matters.
I've asked Sarah to come again tonight in case you all have any questions.
Oh, I do.
The process so far, and what I'm doing to make sure that you all recall the presentation we did last year is I have a copy for each of you.
I do not, so I'd like to see it.
It's coming.
You don't get one.
And that's,
You weren't here last year.
And that's kind of where I am, is to make sure that I can't respond to 7 councilmen's individual emails of questions. It needs to come from the council. I need to have a clear point of something so that we're all on the same page. You're all on the same page, and you're giving me clear direction. So this should help have everyone focus on, this is what we had last year. And last year, we didn't get pushback that it wasn't complete and stuff, but I'm hearing that maybe there are some changes that need to be made. So I think it's something the council should discuss. Not tonight. You can, think about it, and we have it at the next meeting. That's why I put on the front, so that you don't get confused when the new one comes out. Maybe we'll put a different picture so you don't get them mixed up, because it's easy to go.
Put a picture of you smiling.
Oh, yeah.
With like money in your
A comment for you? I don't see a 5-year capital plan on here.
I've only been here a year, so you're going to have to give me a teeny bit of time to get
No, but I mean,
a
there
5-year
have been
plan.
capital plans, 5-year capital planning.
You had
for
one
discussion.
before?
We've had them before. We've had them every year.
Tom, where would they be? Is the question.
They're all
Where would they have
online. They're in the town meetings.
I'd like to make a correction, it was not every year, 1 year. It was
They're every year.
missed.
I'm sorry, they're every year.
But at this point, when we did this presentation, it was the operating budget as to what it was at that point. And I believe last year, we had just gotten the submissions for the 5-year, and that's why we hadn't included it at that
They're all in the
time.
town reports.
Hmm?
They're in the town reports for every year. Yeah, I haven't
Oh, yeah, in the town report, yes.
Exactly.
And it wasn't in this last town report.
No, it wasn't.
Can somebody
this
just send us the
one,
link
and I think it was-
so we can have access to it,
So we know where to find them if they're in the town report.
Yeah, you mentioned in a response.
It wasn't in this last year's town report.
The previous ones you're saying that
Right.
it was in?
With the 5-year period, if there's a 5-year capital plan, it's in 2 years ago 5 report, town report, we should have, we're
At least
2 years into a
two.
5-year plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
How we doing?
Anybody know how we're doing?
We're doing okay? Anybody know yet? All right, we'll take a look at it. But, yeah, if someone can do
I
share.
got it right here. It's on the
Okay.
website.
It's on the website. Then I will.
Send it right to you now.
No, it's all right. If it's there, don't bother. I can get it. I have another comment. So now that we have given Gordon, direction to file another statement of interest, the project that we started talking about a couple months ago about the, adding bathroom facilities to the turf, kind of got lost in the shuffle as we were waiting to figure out what they were going to do. I've kind of said this from the beginning. I don't think that project should be under their budget. I think it should be shared with rec or under another line item because it keeps getting passed off year after year after year. And it is for the high school kids, it is for the younger kids, it's for town use. So it's just a project that needs to get done, and it shouldn't get put onto the school every year because they have some other really significant priorities. So now here we're going into another season. It's really nobody's owning the budget. That's not on their radar, but it's on, mine and quite a few other people, especially the people that utilize that facility. And it was meant to be, it was always meant to be finished, but yet here we are in year, 7?
I had a discussion with Bruce about it, and he did not feel it was the level of priority that he could put it in his capital plan. Our recreation director started a week after the capital plan was supposed to be submitted. So at that point, she didn't know where the regular bathrooms were, never mind that we needed bathrooms for that. So I think with the organization now in place, we're going to be able to add that to the priorities, but it would not be in this year's capital. It wasn't asked for by anybody.
Well, that's what I mean. I knew that was going to get lost, unless the school department went a different way. But yet another year has gone by. Yeah. So I think my point is next year somebody's got to own it. Yeah. And it shouldn't. I don't think it needs to be under that. It just needs to get done. It all trees up to one parent budget at the end of the day. So
there are some things that in fact the Public Works superintendent works very, very closely with the superintendent of schools, and that was one of those that would have needed to be at least discussed by both sides.
Okay.
And
no, I understand, yeah. But let's try and get it resolved once and for all. Yep. Because no matter what happens, we're not intending on ripping up that turf, so the project needs to get completed. Okay. That was my understanding. I had a couple conversations with Gordon a while back, and so yeah, can wait one more year.
Thank you. But I will put it on the radar again.
Sure. Give us time to plan for it anyhow.
Yeah, we'll have had plenty of time to plan for it. Any other priorities of the council as far as the way the budget should look, or anything that you're go ahead.
I'm just looking at some of the expenses coming up, and I know that at some point in time we're looking to purchase computers, and I know that's phased out a little bit, but it could be what, $400,000 plus if it's not, if it wasn't phased out. And I'm listening to what Joe's saying, and I'd just like to talk about some of the research that I've done, and like the biggest department of fraud that's being committed against the town of East Long Meadow is students attending our schools that don't live in the community, and there's approximately $2 million there, and regardless of the kids that are in the school right now that don't reside in East Long Meadow, there's no safety net in place right now to stop future penetration from the Springfield area or wherever they're coming from. So maybe now's the time to look at creating a fund to create a position. And I don't mean a truant officer. That was a total different capacity back in the day. But a position to really screen people coming in to stop this from the future. If we can stop it in the future, and correct a $2 million deficit going forward against fraud, against the town, then there'd be plenty of money to do things like what you're talking about, or adding computers to the school system, making repairs to the building, or wherever we want to go with it. So my whole point is, can we look at putting funds aside to hire somebody to vet people to make sure that they are in fact residents of the town of East Long Meadow before they penetrate our school system?
Okay. I'll be discussing the school budget certainly with the superintendent, and it's something that we can see
Would
if,
this be under the police department, or?
I think
That's
a
the
truant
question.
officer used to
Yeah.
be.
Truant officer used to have to,
But truancy is
But-
different than.
That's right.
than-
Right.
However,
It's coming
back 10, 12, 15 years ago, it ended up being that the truant officer from the police department would be used to
investigate the claim.
investigate potential residency issues.
So it might be a dual kind of thing where it would be a
Well, it was a
clerical-
situation of convenience. I don't know that there was any official designation there.
Right,
But
he was just the
that's
guy that was
yeah,
available to do
he
it.
was, yeah. But having worked as an administrator in the district, the school district, I can say that residency fraud was always a very frustrating part of my job. And a piece of administration that we could do a better job on. I'll say that from, I'm 5 years removed from an employee being an employee of the school department, but that's a frustrating piece for principals. And it's time consuming, and it's something that the vetting process when families register in the district, the advent of cell phones makes the process a little too fluid for folks who are not truly, paying residents of the town. And I think I would support what Mr. Kane is saying, that we could,
But I would think
something
that-
in the long way.
Wouldn't that have to be,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
wouldn't that have to be a priority of the school side when they're registering children? I don't know.
There's gotta be
if
some dialogue over that.
Yeah.
We're kind of fortunate, we have members of the school committee right here.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yeah.
One that wants to talk.
No, I was just saying, there probably is. All right. Beth Boucher, I'm on the school committee. I'm sure there is more that can be done, but I do know that when people approach the secretaries in the central office, there's a whole list of questions that they ask. And
But
they
if I wanna
ask,
put my kid into school, I'm gonna answer those questions that gets my kid into the school.
Exactly, but they'll
I mean,
also-
the questionnaire is only as good as what the follow-up to that is. I mean,
and it's difficult
face it.
because they will ask for everything from, do you have a utility bill with your name on it? Do you have a tax
License?
bill with your name on it? Do you have, they ask anything, and this and this and this and this. And if they come up with any of those things, the process kind of moves along. But they have a whole line of, well, how can you prove that you live in town? And it's not necessarily the best way, but like you're saying, people don't have landlines anymore as much, or so it's not like we just open the doors and let it go. It's a very frustrating
How can
process
we-
for the
yeah.
secretaries. But certainly, I'm sure Gordon would be willing, if there's better ideas or ways. And I know for our staff, especially the admin, it takes away time that they should be spending with the students that do belong in the school. So, but I think that he'd be happy to discuss it. Good ideas are always wanted, but there is somebody on the phone saying, well, you need this or you need this, and they ask for multiple documents with their names on it, anything that they could get to prove that they've gotten mail in town. And they won't accept a P.O. box or things like that.
Through the chair, I would agree with Ms. Boucher that there is a list so that you can narrow in on the truth of whether or not these individuals do in fact live in town. But it's also a difficult piece for the secretaries in central office, particularly in the summer when they're handling a multitude of other issues. And to get into a negotiating battle with a family at the counter is difficult too, because they shouldn't have to be the gatekeepers of the vetting. I mean, they should provide them with the family, the incoming family, with the documentation required. And maybe it needs to be as simple as, you know, we'll get back to you in a week after we do our after the district does due diligence.
And if the town
That's a
can
great
help
idea. And, you know,
somehow-
we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
Right.
other towns that have very stringent processes and best practices. But, you know, Gordon's always been open-minded
Right.
to stuff like this, so he has to be involved in these conversations, certainly. You know, the other part is we still do have, we don't have a truancy officer, but we have a school resource officer, and that is an actual police officer that sits in the school that I'm sure can lend some assistance to, you know, following through on the process, because it's not just the initial application, it's when, you know, we've been notified of potential fraud, then what happens? So it's not, I mean, there are gonna be people that manage to get enrolled and then things are found out afterwards. So that's not the job of a secretary.
No, it isn't.
Right,
That's not,
that's why I'm
that's
trying
not their
to-
role.
right.
We don't want them to be confrontational to people. We're supposed to be educating people. So there has to be checks and balances, and if we can improve on it, and then we can shift those resources to other critical needs of the school department, then everybody makes out for it. So I think, you know, maybe we've got to, you know, start a dialogue with Gordon, see what his thoughts are.
Well, certainly, as we're reviewing the school budget, we can begin that dialogue.
Yeah.
And the reason I brought it up wasn't to create a safety net, it was to make sure that there's funds available. I would spend, let's say if it was a part-time position, part-time, full-time, if it was $40,000 or $80,000, if it's gonna save us $2 million a year, it would be a great investment, and I believe it's a job in itself right now, at least until you get this under control. You know, once people are being turned away, other people will think twice about penetrating the system, and you might have a dual function of that person. But again, my point tonight is just to maybe secure funds while we design how it's going to work to stop the town of East Long Meadow from the fraud that's being committed.
Okay. Excellent.
Through the chair, is it your intent to create the next budget through the same process as we see here from last year?
Yes. That's our starting point, is to...
What about the questions that have already been asked of the council to you?
The questions you have asked?
I have asked a number, yeah.
Yeah. They're in process, as you know. I got them Friday, and I have been working on them actually through the weekend.
I just want to make sure they're still going to be answered.
They are.
Okay.
The full-time, part-time question that has a lot of parts to it was asked earlier by you, and we had said then that it's a very difficult. Sarah can maybe explain how difficult that is. Joe probably can sympathize because he knows how Munis is really restricted in being able to give us the information that we need.
I missed the first part of that question, so what was the other part of that, other than my disgust for Munis?
So, about how easy or hard it is to get an FTE report out of Munis, especially to break it down by funding source, as to whether it was federal grants, state grants, revolving funds, general funds, that I would have to manually do every single person.
Yeah, I think in terms of modernizing as they look forward and in getting, you know, a payroll HRIS system that has more visibility and can extract data as we need it. I mean, I started to ask those questions over a year ago, and it's the nature of the system. It's a great financial package, but it's very restrictive in other areas. So, what was the basis of the question? What were we looking for?
I don't.
The basis of the questions which they did not answer, and they're not going to, and that's fine, I understand.
It's not that we don't want to, Tom.
No, I understand that.
You're making
I
it sound like
understand
we
the
don't want
response,
to.
I got the response.
Yeah.
And in that response, it said it's not going to be forthcoming. So, with that said, I understand the restrictions that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm fine with that. But I still like the other answers to the questions I've provided to you.
For the other questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're
Denise and I
working
are
on it.
working on that.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I must have missed something.
No, well, it is a multi-part, I mean.
There's an extensive email that Tom sent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the first question.
Certain information, so they're working on some of it, but some of it can't be provided based on
The restrictions.
restrictions.
I understand that.
And I actually went from Sarah, I thought I was gonna backdoor, asking through HR and see if maybe she could get it a different way, and she said, do you have any idea what you're asking me for? I said, I think maybe.
And honestly.
But explain it to me, and it was the same exact thing.
It's funny, but it's not.
It's not
because
funny.
it's not something that like
Should
a
be
normal
that
business
difficult to
Right, it
would
should be
be
something
able.
we could easily access, and it
Yes.
shouldn't be that hard.
It would be something that would be able to be produced by, if you have the right, systems in place, but, we'll get there. We are getting there. I'm hopeful that we kind of modernize some of those areas sooner than later. I mean, we've taken some great steps, but,
Yeah.
in the meantime, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're all looking for some answers and some things as we get a little further along, so.
Any other comments, questions?
Okay.
Looks like we're about to get busy.
Yes.
Jim's gone, so obviously we're in a business session. So I guess we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Nothing in executive, right?
No, he's not.
Oh, this is, okay.
So moved.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.